This is presentation 3 on non-probability sampling. Non-probability sampling is a method of case selection other than random sample. So why would we use non-probability sampling? We would use it if we were conducting a pilot study for a survey. So we would use it as an exploratory study to see what types of issues might come up, and then we know what to ask in our survey. We would use it if we lack knowledge about the population, so we're studying a hidden group such as the homeless or undocumented immigrants, or we're studying a small group, so a study with less than 100 participants, where the sample size is too small anyway to make generalizations to a broader population. We also choose non-probability sampling when it's convenient and accessible, because it's less expensive or time-consuming than probability sampling. The steps involved in non-probability design are a bit less involved than the probability sampling, as you'll see. So you choose your cases or sites, and then you select your observations. So here we decide that we're studying the homeless, and we choose our cases, so the homeless population or the sites, homeless shelters, and then we select our observations, either people to interview or shelters to study. There are 4 different types of non-probability sampling. We have purposive sampling. We choose this because you are looking for a specific population. So this often depends on the knowledge or judgment of a researcher that a chosen sample will offer more theoretical understanding on a topic. So it allows you to cover the full range of perspectives. For example, the sociologist Kathleen Blee conducted a study on female members of racist groups. So she spent a year gathering information on racist groups in the US. Of the 100 groups that she found, she chose groups that had active women leaders, and she chose groups with different ideologies to make sure that she covered a range of perspectives. Another type of sampling is snowball sampling. This follows a process of chain referral. After you find someone to interview that fits your case criteria, you ask them if they would recommend anyone else to interview. For example, if you interviewed a young woman who is homeless, she might know of other homeless women to introduce you to. So as you can see, snowball sampling is very useful for locating small and often deviant subpopulations. Next, we have quota sampling. So the researcher identifies subgroups within a population of interest and then selects some predetermined number from each of these subgroups. For example, the satisfaction on campus housing study. There are 2 types of housing, so you can create 2 subgroups, one for each housing unit, and then you choose a sample of residents from each of those housing units. So in quota sampling, you need to include particular subgroups, and you need to account for variations across these study elements. We also have convenience sampling, where researchers collect data from people who are convenient to find. This is most appropriate in the early stages of research while you're still discovering the numerous aspects of your study. And this typically means this is typical for selecting samples in experiments. So many research professors who employ experiments, which we'll learn about in the next few weeks, they often use college students. So these 2 sampling strategies are sometimes used in quantitative research when the situations call for it. But it's important to remember that they're not random samples. So what are some of the pros of non-probability sampling? It's convenient and accessible, so you don't need to find a large sample of, say, 500 or 1,000. Even 30 cases or 30 people would be fine to sample. You can use it to reach hidden populations. It allows you to focus on enhancing theoretical understanding rather than the representative uniqueness of a large population. But that leads us to the cons. It's not generalizable. So probability sampling is generalizable. But if we use non-probability sampling, we cannot make statistically significant inferences of the population. So in your studies, in your topics, while probability sampling would be ideal for your quantitative question, we would probably use non-probability sampling for both of them. However, for the exercise or the assignment that I have you to do this week, try to choose a probability sampling design for your quantitative question.